for the day. So the first 5 questions are based on an RC passage, and as usual, once you are done reading the passage, or at least the part of the passage which is on the screen, let me know and I can take you over to the next slide. There you go. So take a deep breath and here it is. Hi Shraddha, are you through with this particular part of the passage? I'm basically taking you through paragraph after paragraph, so let's see. Done? Okay, here is the next paragraph for you. Hi Shiv Shankar. Fantastic, Angela. You read the passages fast, consistently. I really like that, huh? Okay, next paragraph. Okay, here you go. The next one. Okay, next one. Ah, good to see you, Rishit. Welcome. Are we done? Okay. So until a few years ago, I think I would have struggled to explain what is meant by these lines. No more the case. Now a lot of you have gone through these Marvel movies that talk about the multiverse, right? So the Aztecs kind of invented that idea centuries ago. Okay, so with that, let us get into the last part. Okay, fabulous. So here is our first question based on the passage. Let's see what you think of it. Use the seeker to go back to the right part of the passage, okay? Okay, so this is one of those comprehension-based questions where we are asked for the purpose of an example. So why do we offer an example? We offer an example to prove a point or to explain a point, right? So which of these 4 points is getting proved or explained? The truth is none of these. These examples were given to illustrate this point that a single image stands for an entire story, a large idea. Okay, so in a way, these images were keys. In a way, these images were codes that helped you remember some major events of the past. Remember in the very first paragraph, the word that the author has used is mnemonic, right? So if we look at it, let's have a look at, so which ones have you chosen? So B versus C. So let's rule out A and D. You're absolutely right if you've eliminated these two. Let's look at B and C. B says to highlight the way pictographic texts were used by the Aztecs to keep history. Yes, they helped them keep history, although we can be more specific. How about C? To describe the fact that it was the way the Aztecs kept memories alive. Was it the way the Aztecs kept the memories alive? What was the core idea? These images can help them remember a significant moment of their history, of their past. So between B and C, which is closer to that? Is it about keeping the memories alive or is it about recording their history? I think recording history is definitely closer. Maybe if we read them more, we'd perhaps find other ways of keeping the memories alive. The kind of memories that the paragraph talks about are memories which are useful or significant for that entire group of people, for all the Aztecs. Whereas this memories does not really talk about that kind of collective memory, and therefore I'd suggest that we prefer B over C. Okay. So C is not as close to that idea as B is. And here is the next one. Question number 2 on the screen. What's your take on this? C, A. Okay. So, which of the following worldviews can be inferred? So, whenever we come across an inference-based question, what do? True, false, can't say. Okay, how about A? A tribe that has a pictographic script. True, false, can't say. What is a script? We know that they have what has been termed as a pictographic text. So text is basically a piece of writing. For example, when I look at them, I have a page lying in front of me. I'd say that this is text. Your textbooks are texts. Your newspaper is full of text. So they have pictographic text. In that context, text is something that is designed to convey something. But what is a script? English is written using the Roman script. Hindi is written using the Devanagari script. Well, Punjabi is written using the Gurmukhi script, so on and so forth. So you get the drift. So when I say the Roman script, I'm talking about the alphabet. When I say the Devanagari script, I'm talking about the Hindi alphabet, the Varnamala, as we call it. Did they really have a script? Are you sure? They had images, glyphs, that acted as a mnemonic for an event. Where were they scripts? A script has an alphabet. Alphabet has letters where every letter captures. So in a way, every letter is a symbol that captures our sound on a piece of paper. So they had images as mnemonics. They had images that communicated a text. Does that mean that they had a pictographic script? We cannot be certain. So A is can't say. What else have you chosen? C. All of you ruled out B and D. If there are issues in B and D, please ask. So let's eliminate B and D. Let's look at C. A tribe that has several interpretations of its history. Remember the second last paragraph where I talked about Aztecs had something like a multiverse, where they had their own interpretations. They acted like directors in their stories. So they had several interpretations of their history. Absolutely. From that, this can be labeled as true. And because C is true and A is can't say, it is obvious that we go ahead and choose C as our answer over A. Right? So let's be a little more rigorous when it comes to inferences. Okay, next one. Question number 3 on your screen. Give me your pick. So another inference question. True, false, can't say. Guys, true, false, can't say. Virender, it's okay. I mean, that's why vocabulary is important. And a lot of people think that big, difficult words are the ones that create a problem for us in the exam. No, the truth is, there are these words that we use so frequently, or not use, at least we meet them so frequently that we think we know these words. वो देख के लगता है मिले हुए हैं पता है मुझे क्या है पता होता नहीं है that is what makes it challenging. Shraddha, that is the whole idea. इधर गलती करेंगे, फिर डिस्कस करेंगे, इससे थॉट प्रोसेस इंप्रूव होगी. हाँ, the more you bleed in training, the less you bleed in your matches, right? So, no, that's not. The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in matches, as they say. So, इधर गलतियां करेंगे, खूब करेंगे, उनसे सीखेंगे और फिर बेटर बनेंगे. That's the whole idea. Okay, so B. So I have one answer. It says B. What else? So प्रखर के अलावा कहाँ गए भाई बाकी लोगों के? Divij thinks it is C. Okay, B versus C so far. So let's look at B. The Spanish worked hard to keep Aztec storytelling alive in written alphabet form. Spaniards taught them to write. Did they urge the Aztecs to preserve their history? Hey, that was something that the Aztecs did on their own. It was not the Spanish that went on to do it consciously, actively. And therefore, B is something that cannot be determined on the basis of the passage. How about C? The Spanish conquest, instead of erasing Aztec history, perversely helped to preserve it. That's true. In fact, look at this particular word here. So counterintuitively, now you would normally think that if a people are conquered by another people, then their history will be erased. But now, after all, history is a record of the winners, right? But in this case, that did not happen. And why did it not happen? Spaniards gave them a script and they used that script to record their history, which was otherwise being orally transmitted. And that could have died with the other people, with the elderly, right? So that is why between B and C, C is definitely better. And I'm really happy that most of us are consistently ruling out 2 answer choices. That's fabulous. Okay, keep at it and you'd gradually learn to eliminate the 3rd wrong answer as well. Okay, next question. So here's a hint for you. When I attempt a tone-based question, I arrange all the answer choices in a sequence of negative to positive in my mind. Why? It is easier for me to think of whether the author is negative, positive, or neutral. So in this particular case, when we talk about the author's attitude towards Aztec keeping the history, the attitude is negative, neutral, or positive. That's something that we know, right? So can I say it is positive? Let us look at these words. Skepticism, negative. Incredulity, negative. In case you do not know the word, skepticism is you have your doubts, you have your concerns. Okay. Then incredulity. Incredulity is where you don't believe something, you don't trust something. So, we have this word called incredible. Incredible is, unbelievably true. A feat so amazing that people would struggle to believe it, that it happened. But it is true. It's just that it's so unbelievable. Whereas incredulity simply means unbelievable. Nobody is going to believe it. Right? So that's negative. Neutrality, as you can see, is neutral. Admiration is positive. So the only positive option that you have is option D. So let's go ahead and do that. Nishant, it's not surprise. Surprise is incredible. Any way in which you can go back to the passage, Divij, we are on YouTube. You have that seeker that allows you to refer to any part, right? So let's use that. I know it is counterintuitive, or at least I shouldn't say counterintuitive. I know it is not intuitive, but once you start doing it, after a few sessions, you get a hang of it. Okay. So every medium has its own limitations. and a lot of advantages. So let's just make do with that. And here is the last question based on the passage. This is one of your pure comprehension based questions that is based on sort of an overview of the passage. Yes, Divij, happens. है ना, हनुमान जी को भी याद करवाना पड़ा था ना, you can fly. So now that you know, I'm sure you'd go ahead and do something equally stellar. Okay, Virender has shared his answer. So as Anjila, Shraddha, Ishank, Vinayak, Tahil Ramani. Oh, nice. Okay, but then I think all of you have gotten it right. D it is. That saves me that saves me the trouble of going ahead and discussing all of these answers. So pat on your back for getting this one right for sure. So fifth it is. And now let us have two questions that focus on what? So here are the directions for you. Which question are we going to cover? Virendra, I could not understand the question. Alphabet forms as in? Okay, so these two questions are going to be what? Paragraph, odd one out questions. So here is the first one for you. Question number 6 on your screen, slightly lengthy. Take your time and then share it with me. Mohit, what do you mean by traditional methods here? We do have, yes, recorded videos on our app, but when you say traditional methods, what does that really mean? Oh, Divij, I think, okay, maybe. Since everybody got it right, I did not really get into that, but Ishank, it's the odd one out, okay? Not a parajumble. You're not supposed to arrange these 5 in a sequence. You're supposed to figure out the one that does not belong to this paragraph. I mean, Mohit, I know that we've shared certain things, but what do you mean by a traditional method there? Can you just jog my memory and share the take on traditional method? Okay, Mohit, I think by now that I have spent some time with your question, I think I know what you're asking. Let's look at it once we have discussed this question. I think let's just solve this question. Once we are done with this, let's dive in. Okay. So one of the, my first instinct while solving these questions is to read all the sentences and try to come up with some sort of a theme. Right? Now, if you look at all of these sentences, you realize that 4 of these are talking about children and their use of technology. 2, on the other hand, gets into True, as the enthusiastic proponents of new tech argue, there are now learning packages available for a whole range of subjects, which individuals are capable of working through at their own speed and at times that suit them. Not talking about children, not giving you a disadvantage, whereas the rest of them are focusing on the use of internet by children to learn something and the problems with that. And since we have this confusion, some of us, between 1 and 2, focus on this. Think of it as a parajumble, and you notice that this obsession connects itself with some other sentence here, and that is sentence number 3. And that is why the correct answer here is sentence 2. And now to answer the question that was asked by Mohit. Mohit said, how should we attempt the passage? I'm assuming this is a question that some of you may also have. So I'll tell you what a regular conventional way of attempting a passage is. You read the passage to generate an overview. Let me reiterate. Now, when I say you read the passage for an overview, what does it mean? Number 1, you are supposed to read it fast. Number 2, you're not supposed to read it for all the details. Number 3, you're supposed to read it only to get a bird's eye view of the entire passage. So at the end of that reading, you should know the subject matter, you should know the purpose of the author, you should know the key opinion, if any, that is shared by the author of that paragraph with you. And along with that, you should have this rough understanding of the key idea of every paragraph. Okay, so that is what we are after. And you are supposed to do it all in under 2 minutes, given the kind of passages that we encounter nowadays. So you typically have around 500 word passages, right? So in the last couple of years, the passages have been 487 words to around 520 words, give or take. So 500 words, give or take 5%, basically, right? So that kind of a passage ideally should be read in under 2 minutes. Okay, that'd be amazing. If you can do that in even less, 1.5 minutes, a minute, fabulous. Okay, here is the next odd one out for you. I'll just write it here so that those of you who are joining in now would at least know. So this is a paragraph, odd one out question. Oh, Prakhar, I will have to go back. I just looked at and isolated on the basis of the theme. Otherwise, I will have to read that here in order to give you that. But don't worry, we have a parajumble as well. So we can look at it there. Okay. And since Prakhar asked me for a sequence in the previous one, I kind of did that right now. So we will have, if I were to treat it as a parajumble, I can arrange these 4 sentences in this sequence that leave the second one out. Look at third. Third talks about Arctic sea ice reflects sunlight, right? And fourth essentially extends it. So normally our instinct will be to put first immediately after third. But then the moment you switch from third to first, you'd not be able to write 4 anywhere. And that is why it is important to write these 2 together and then write 1 followed by 5. If you look at second, so these 4 sentences, 3, 1, 4, 5, they are essentially talking about the Arctic sea ice, how it reflected, and now it does not, leading to some problems. Look at second. As planet warming greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, some have been driven to explore desperate measures. Is it talking about Arctic sea ice? It's talking about an increase in greenhouse gas emissions. Then it also mentions this word, some. Which people or entity or species is being talked about with the help of this sum? And what are these desperate measures? Does not connect with anything else in this paragraph, and that is why 2 is the odd one out. And here comes your next question. 4 sentences. Arrange them. So what do we call it? Para-jumbles. These are the directions that you get in the exam. And here is the question on your screen. No, Virender, that is, let's not generalize. In fact, every year, out of the 3 questions, I shouldn't say every year, but most of the years, one of them has turned out to be really easy. Yeah, in fact, even this question, it is an actual ZAT question, not CAT question, but ZAT question. But in ZAT, you do have options. So I've tweaked it slightly so that it can be used without the options as well. You know, when you have questions with options, the options at times supply some additional clues that are needed to solve it. Okay, so Vedant has shared his answer. Do you agree with Vedant? Here are my clues. So, look at this. One of these complications. So you see this? Rather complicated. So one of these complications comes after this. So I know that 4 should come after 3. Then if you look at first and second, they are talking about complications related to foreign currency. Notice? Complications related to foreign currency, and therefore both 1 and 2 should come after 4. But look at 1. 1 starts with additionally. So when you write additionally, you continue a thought. So if you're talking about one challenge here, you need to have another challenge written right before it. So second gives you that another challenge, and therefore 2 should come before 1. Now, if you combine all of these, you know that your answer should be 3, 4, 1, 2. So it is all about identifying the clues and then working from there in order to identify the correct sequence. As you can see, can these questions be tough? Oh, hell, yes, absolutely. But then they can also be easy. As I said, this is an actual exam question, and that by no means is considered a walkover. It's in some years, it has actually been tougher than the CAT. So it's all about looking at that question and then taking a call. Let's not leave it blindly, especially in the CAT. I'd very strongly urge that you solve para-jumbles because there is no negative marking for them, right? They are non-MCQs. So you should go ahead and do this. So that's for the CAT, the subject part. And here is the part that will help you with your mind. So may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. So choose wisely. Choose so that you can move towards your